There's something haunting about watching someone fall apart right in front of us. The blank stares, the jittery movements, the way a once confident superstar now looks fragile, almost unrecognizable. Justin Bieber wasn't supposed to end up like this. He was the golden boy, the fresh-faced teenager from a small Canadian town who became the biggest pop star on the planet. The world screamed his name, bought his records, and watched him grow up under the harshest spotlight imaginable. But somewhere along the way, the boy wonder became a broken man. And what makes this story so disturbing is that his downfall wasn't an accident. It was built into the system from the very beginning. Exploitation, inappropriate encounters with older celebrities, crushing pressure, and an escape into dangerous habits. All of it added up to the brutal decline we see today. So how did Justin Bieber, once the symbol of youth and success, get here? To answer that, we need to go back to the start of a story that's much darker than most fans ever realized.
Wanting stuff from me, knowing that I was living this lifestyle that they also wanted to live, drinking, smoking.
Justin Bieber's story didn't start in a stadium packed with screaming fans. It began in Stratford, Ontario, a small Canadian town where a little boy banged on toy drums before he could even spell his own name. Music wasn't just something he liked, it was something that poured out of him. By the time he was 3, he could keep rhythm on a set of toy drums with a precision that stunned adults. Soon after, he was teaching himself guitar, piano, and drums with no formal lessons. His mom, Patty Millette, was barely more than a kid herself when she gave birth to Justin at just 18. Her life had been scarred by abuse, addiction, and trauma. His father wasn't around much, leaving Patty to raise Justin on her own while fighting her own demons. In many ways, Justin inherited both his mother's resilience and her pain, something that would shape him far more than anyone realized at the time. At 12, Justin started posting homemade videos on YouTube. They weren't polished, they weren't planned. Just a small-town kid showing off his voice to friends and family.
Sir, 98, you won the lottery, died the next day.
But what was meant to stay small quickly exploded. One of those videos caught the eye of a talent manager named Scooter Braun, who became obsessed with tracking the boy down. Soon, Justin was flown to Atlanta, introduced to Usher, and signed to Island Records at just 13 years old. From there, everything happened at lightning speed. His debut single, One Time, went platinum. His EP, My World, set records. And then came Baby, the song that didn't just launch his career. It created a cultural earthquake. Bieber fever wasn't hype. It was hysteria. Crowds of teenage girls fainted at malls. Airports had to shut down because of security concerns. And within months, Justin was one of the most recognizable faces on earth. But behind the polished haircuts and catchy choruses, something darker was already brewing. Because while the world saw a lucky kid living a dream, the reality was that Justin had just been thrown into a machine that would chew him up for profit, with no one around to truly protect him. When Justin rocketed to fame, it wasn't just about the music anymore. It was about the brand. The industry saw him not as a teenager with dreams, but as a goldmine. Every strand of his hair, every hoodie he wore, every smile on stage became a product to be packaged and sold. By the time most kids were worrying about high school exams, Justin was living on tour buses and hotel rooms. His life micromanaged down to the minute. Interviews, rehearsals, endless meet and greets, late-night TV appearances. It never stopped. To the outside world, he was a phenomenon. But inside, he was a teenager trapped in a relentless cycle of exhaustion. And the darker truth? That Bieber fever wasn't just about music. It was about control. Adults with power, executives, handlers, managers, built an empire on his back. He was the perfect product. Young, good-looking, wildly talented, and too inexperienced to say no. For Justin, there was no such thing as privacy. Paparazzi chased him everywhere. Fans camped outside hotels. Every move he made, every word he said was monetized. And while millions celebrated his rise, Justin was quietly being stripped of the one thing every teenager needs, the chance to grow up at his own pace. The pressure cooker was set, and when you add a kid to that kind of heat, something is bound to crack. But what Justin faced next went beyond pressure, because it wasn't just the industry that crossed the line. It was the very celebrities he looked up to. For Justin, fame didn't just mean fans chasing him through airports or cameras flashing in his face. It meant older, powerful celebrities crossing boundaries with him again and again, sometimes in full view of the world. At just 15 years old, he was pulled into Sean Diddy Combs' orbit. In a video posted online, Diddy bragged about having custody of Justin for 48 hours, promised him a Lamborghini when he turned 16, and even suggested they should go get girls. At the time, it was passed off as playful mentorship. Looking back now, especially with the accusations Diddy faces today, the footage feels disturbing. But it didn't stop there. At 16, on live TV, James Corden leaned in close to Justin during an interview. He told him he smelled amazing, stroked his face, and stared into his eyes. The teenager shifted uncomfortably as the audience laughed. The following year, Katy Perry grabbed him inappropriately during a hug. David Letterman manhandled him while mocking his tattoos. Actress Leah Remini even tried to touch him while firing off sexual questions. Questions no 15-year-old should ever have to answer in front of a national audience. And then came the moment that fans still talk about with disgust. At the 2012 American Music Awards, a nervous 18-year-old Justin walked on stage to accept an award. Out of nowhere, 40-year-old Jenny McCarthy grabbed his neck, kissed him, and groped him in front of millions watching at home. Justin laughed nervously and said, "I feel violated right now." Later, McCarthy bragged about it in interviews, even joking that she had kind of molested him. If the genders had been reversed, if a 40-year-old man did this to a teenage girl on live TV, it would have ended careers overnight. But because it was Justin, the world treated it like comedy. These weren't harmless stunts. They were repeated violations of a kid who never had the power to say no. Each time it happened, the message was clear. His comfort didn't matter. He wasn't a person. He was a product. And while the public laughed along, behind the scenes, Justin was trying to hold together a personal life that was about to be torn apart by his first love. If Justin's public life was chaotic, his private life was even more brutal. At just 16, he started dating Selena Gomez, a relationship that would define his youth and in many ways, destroy it. To Justin, Selena wasn't just a girlfriend. She was his anchor, the one person he thought understood what it felt like to grow up in front of the world. But to the media, their love wasn't love at all. It was a headline. Paparazzi stalked their dates, tabloids tore them apart, and fans on both sides turned the relationship into a circus. Every kiss, every argument, every breakup was broadcast like a reality show, and the constant pressure ate away at both of them. By 2014, the on and off drama had spiraled out of control. Justin coped by drinking, partying, and lashing out in public. Selena, meanwhile, admitted in interviews that their toxic cycle left her feeling emotionally abused. Their final split in 2018 shattered Justin. Within months, he was photographed looking gaunt and broken, openly crying in public, and confessing to friends that he couldn't move on. Fans noticed how often his lowest points seemed to follow breakups with Selena, as if losing her was losing the only thing keeping him grounded. And when Selena later released the song "Lose You to Love Me," widely believed to be about Justin, the wounds were ripped open all over again. To millions of listeners, it was just another pop ballad. To Justin, it was another reminder that even his heartbreak had become entertainment. What should have been a normal teenage romance became a public spectacle that fueled his spiral, and with his first love gone, Justin leaned harder than ever into the only escape he thought he had left: drugs. With Selena gone and the pressures of fame crushing down, Justin turned to the one thing that seemed to numb the pain: drugs. And this wasn't some casual teenage rebellion. It was a full-on spiral. By 2013, his behavior was making headlines for all the wrong reasons. He was caught urinating in a mop bucket at a nightclub, shouting insults at a photo of former President Bill Clinton. He was charged with vandalism after egging his neighbor's house, an act that cost him over $80,000 in damages. Paparazzi filmed him lashing out, speeding in cars, and storming out of hotels. The innocent boy from YouTube had turned into a tabloid villain almost overnight, but the truth was far darker than the headlines suggested. In his 2020 docuseries, Justin admitted that behind the chaos, he was addicted to lean, popping pills, experimenting with MDMA and mushrooms, anything to escape. He described mornings where the first thing he reached for wasn't food or water or even his phone. It was drugs. He confessed, "I felt like I was dying." Fans who once mocked his outbursts began to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just a spoiled celebrity acting out. This was a young man drowning, self-medicating years of trauma, exploitation, and heartbreak with whatever substances could silence the noise. And while his addictions almost ended his career and his life, Justin eventually tried to claw his way back. But even as he sobered up and sought stability, the damage had already been done. His next chapter would shock the world for a very different reason, because instead of finding peace, he found himself in a marriage that sparked endless controversy. When Justin married Hailey Baldwin in 2018, it was supposed to be his fresh start. To the public, the image was perfect. A born-again Christian pop star, finding redemption with a beautiful model wife. For Justin, it was stability after years of chaos. At least that's how it looked on the surface. But from the very beginning, their relationship was surrounded by whispers. Whispers that Hailey had been pursuing Justin for years. Old videos resurfaced of a teenage Hailey waiting outside events, holding signs, and posing for photos with him long before they were ever romantically linked. Critics began calling her a stalker, saying she wasn't just a fan. She was someone who had been planning this marriage since she was a kid. For some fans, Hailey became the villain of Justin's story. They accused her of manipulating him at his weakest moment, stepping in after his breakup with Selena when he was most vulnerable. Others defended her, saying she was the only person keeping him grounded, the one who stood by him through addiction, illness, and breakdowns. But even within the marriage, cracks began to show. Clips of Justin allegedly yelling at Hailey in public went viral. Footage of him slamming car doors in her face sparked concern. Online debates raged. Was Justin unhappy, or was the internet blowing small moments out of proportion? Hailey herself admitted in interviews that being married to Justin wasn't easy. She described sleepless nights, fights and seasons where he was not okay, times when she thought about leaving but chose to stay. For outsiders, it was hard to tell the truth. Was Hailey his savior, or was she another handler in a long line of people controlling his life? Either way, one thing was obvious. The marriage wasn't the fairy tale the tabloids sold us. And soon, Justin's health, both physical and mental, would begin collapsing in ways that made the world realize how deep his struggles really ran. By the time Justin entered his mid-20s, the cracks in his body were catching up with the cracks in his mind. Years of non-stop performing, substance abuse, and stress had left him in constant pain. And suddenly, the world saw a side of Justin Bieber that wasn't glamorous at all. In 2020, he shocked fans when he revealed he had been battling Lyme disease and chronic mononucleosis. The illnesses explained his weight loss, exhaustion, and the zoned-out look that tabloids had cruelly mocked as drug relapse. For the first time, people realized that Justin wasn't just a troubled star, he was physically sick. Then, in 2022, things got even worse. Justin posted a video showing half of his face paralyzed, explaining he had been diagnosed with Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a rare condition caused by a shingles virus attacking his nerves.
As you can see, this eye is not blinking. I can't smile on this side of my face. This nostril will not move. So there's full paralysis in this side of my face.
Millions watched the footage in shock as he struggled to blink and smile. Tour dates were canceled, and for the first time, Justin admitted he couldn't push through anymore. The cancellations didn't stop there. In 2023 and 2025, Justin pulled the plug on his Justice World Tour, citing both mental and physical health. Fans who had waited years to see him live were heartbroken, but many said they'd rather lose their tickets than lose Justin entirely. He confessed openly on Instagram that he felt broken, that he struggled with anger issues, and that his body simply couldn't keep up with the demands of fame. For a superstar who once seemed untouchable, it was a sobering reminder. The kid the world turned into a machine was finally breaking down. And yet, even as he tried to step away, the spiral didn't stop. Because by 2025, Justin wasn't just dealing with illness. He was showing the world just how fragile his mental state had become. By 2025, Justin Bieber looked like a shadow of the boy who once ruled the world. The stadiums were quieter, the cameras weren't as kind, and Justin himself was unraveling in ways that no one could ignore. Clips began circulating online, Justin looking gaunt, restless, licking his lips repeatedly as if trying to calm himself down. Paparazzi footage caught him snapping, screaming, "You only want money," at strangers. To some, it looked like anger. To others, it looked like a man on the verge of a breakdown. His own words painted an even darker picture. On Instagram, he admitted he felt broken. He confessed to anger issues. In one post, he wrote that he struggled to feel worthy of love at all. These weren't the carefully polished statements of a PR team. They were raw cries for help from someone who had been carrying scars for far too long. And then came the news that shattered fans. Justin canceled the Justice Tour. Again, he explained he couldn't handle the pressure, that both his body and his mind were shutting down. For fans who had grown up with him, it felt like watching a childhood friend fall apart in real time. The timing only made things worse. Selena Gomez, the love of his life in the eyes of millions, announced her engagement to music producer Benny Blanco. Fans flooded social media, speculating that this was another blow to Justin's already fragile state. Old clips of him crying over Selena resurfaced, and the comparisons to Britney Spears' public meltdown grew louder than ever. The boy who once had the world in his hands was now openly saying he didn't know if he could keep going. The industry that built him, the media that mocked him, the stars who exploited him, all of it had left Justin Bieber standing at his lowest point yet. But the most chilling part? For many fans, 2025 didn't feel like the end of a chapter. It felt like a warning. Justin's decline wasn't just about one broken marriage, one canceled tour, or even one drug spiral. It was the result of a system that's been breaking young stars for decades, and fans are starting to notice. Many now compare him to Britney Spears. Like her, Justin was pushed into the spotlight as a child, mocked during his darkest moments, and exploited for profit while no one cared about the long-term damage. Others see frightening parallels to Aaron Carter, who rose young, spiraled into drugs, and never made it out alive. A few even mention names like Avicii, another young talent crushed by the relentless machine of fame until he couldn't take it anymore. What makes Justin's story sting even more is the double standard. When Britney shaved her head, it became the punchline of a generation. When Justin was groped on stage or mocked by celebrities twice his age, it was treated like comedy. Fans have been calling it out for years now. If Justin had been a girl, there would have been outrage. But because he was a boy, his pain was dismissed. And now, those same fans who once threw eggs at his car, who laughed at his mugshots, are watching with guilt. The tone has shifted. Instead of jokes, the comments under his posts are filled with concern. We failed him. This is the male Britney. Hollywood chewed him up and spat him out. The truth is, Justin Bieber's collapse is not an isolated tragedy. It's part of a disturbing pattern, a cycle where the industry takes children, sells them as products, and leaves them to self-destruct when they can't keep up. And unless that cycle is broken, Justin won't be the last. Justin Bieber's story isn't just about one superstar losing control. It's about what happens when a child is fed into a machine designed to squeeze out every dollar, no matter the cost. From the very first YouTube cover to the final canceled tour, his life was never fully his own. He was exploited on live television, mocked by the media, stalked by cameras, and pushed into a cycle of self-medication just to survive. And now, at only 31, he admits he feels broken. It's easy to laugh at the scandals. It's easy to roll our eyes at another celebrity meltdown. But T behind the memes and the mugshots is a kid who never had the chance to grow up. A kid who carried the weight of the world before he was old enough to carry himself. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all. Because if this could happen to Justin Bieber, one of the most famous, most profitable, most protected stars on the planet, then what chance does any child star really have? Justin's decline wasn't an accident. It was the price of early fame, exploitation, and a system that valued profit over people. And when we ask, what happened to Justin Bieber? The answer is as heartbreaking as it is simple. He never really had a choice.